sometimes we don't understand why certain music is trending. It sounds horrible to me too, but you kind of have to play the game. And it's hard to get people to understand that if they haven't been immersed in social media like we have most of our lives. And what I tell my clients is pick one and go all in on it. And then once we feel really comfortable with that and we have that batch created and it kind of runs on its own, then let's add something else in. I think a lot of people have the program.
Welcome back to the COS Business Podcast, #1 podcast in Colorado Springs.
Today, our highlighted sponsor is Mike Schoening Legal Shield. You can check him out at mschoening.legalshieldassociate.com.
Love it. And today we have a very special guest, Jen Peterson with Slay Social with Jen. How you doing?
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing great. We've got to catch up a little bit before this episode, but for a lot of our folks who don't know who you are, it kind of says it in the name already, right? Yeah. Of course. But tell us a little bit about your business.
So I help business owners figure out what the heck to post on social media. So a lot of times people will get a business all together. So they're so excited. They have a great website. And then they go to start posting videos and they're like, what am I doing? So I help them just kind of put it all together, make a strategy, and then sometimes add ads or whatever they need to do to boost their organic strategy and get a little bit of confidence to do it.
Love it. So tell us a little bit more about what got you into this business. Because like marketing obviously is all the rage nowadays, especially social media, right? Everybody's seems to be a social media expert nowadays. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I was doing social media for another small business in the area. I kind of just got thrown into it. Like, hey, could you make sure you just post every day? I guess so. I'm good at posting my kids or, I used it for personal use. I think I had a Facebook since it was a thing, back when you had to have a edu email address. Wow. That was way a long time ago. And I loved it and loved connecting that way. I had kids really young. So that was like my way of being with people in the world, with being home with babies. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I was posting stuff and then realized, you can see how many people saw this. Just kind of figured out that there was insights behind it. And then, as I was saying earlier, I'm neurodivergent. So I was like, I have to learn everything about this. And I did. I spent a couple of years just immersing myself in the social media world, trying stuff for myself, trying stuff for clients. And it's just like, hey, I could make a business out of this.
That's awesome. Well, like someone like you who's been in this space now, and it's been about 2 years now, right? Since you started your business.
Yep.
Congratulations, by the way. That's a milestone. Any year in the business world is a milestone, especially your first few ones, because the statistics are always working against you every single year you make it, right?
Yes.
So what are some of the major mistakes that you see businesses make with their social media when they come to you and they're like, I need help?
A lot of it is business owners just telling me, I don't have time for this. Like they'll do really good in the beginning, when they don't have as much business or as many customers. And then as soon as they start adding them on, their presence goes down. And then they don't have business in the pipeline for once they're through, however their customer journey works. So a lot of people just tell me, Jen, I hate it. I hate doing social media. I don't want to do it. It's not my skill. I just want someone to do this for me. So I help people. I do that, but I also help people learn to do it themselves in a way that makes it easier. So, batching content out, planning ahead, organizing, making sure they have a big bank of videos. So it's not this everyday drudgery that they hate to do because, your audience can feel that.
Right.
Like this person hates this. And so it comes across in your content. So there's ways to do it that doesn't make it go away. In this day and age, you have to do it. You're not going to get around it, but ways to do it so it's not like the worst.
Yeah, for sure. What industries have you served now? And I'm sure like after 2 years, you've been able to, serve a myriad of different industries and probably have learned a lot of different things from serving those different industries because the strategy is different, right?
That's right. It's a little different for everyone, but I've done a lot of med spas. That was not intentional. I don't know why. That's just ended up being my thing. I've done landscaping, dog walking businesses.
Wow.
Trying to think. Lots of different, just everything. And people ask me that, like, do you kind of narrow your focus? And you get that advice that you should do that. And I have not done that because I really like being able to expand my skill set and test in ways I wouldn't be able to with my own content. And I just want to be able to offer something to everyone, and maybe I'll regret that at some point, but it's worked okay for me so far.
Yeah, you could always lean into focusing on niching down the spas if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like, you can decide if you want to do that anytime.
Yeah. Yeah. And I have thought about it. There have been times, but I think if I do niche down right now, I think I want to do towards a service. Like I really love ads. And I think you have to have those couple years where you're trying stuff out and seeing what you like and what you don't like, or just what you're naturally better at. And ads for me, it's the perfect blend of creative and analytical. And I love being able to have more control over who sees what. And it's so fun to kind of, set all the perimeters and see what it does. And I think we're to the point, with the way that social media is playing out, that you almost are to the point where you may need to have an ad, like before you can kind of get away with, if you have a really good organic strategy, and there's still some of that, but I feel like the last couple of years, being able to get everybody you want and get in front of the audience that you want has gone down. It's not as easy as it used to be. So, and a lot of people are feeling that.
Every day there's more and more users using Facebook.
Exactly.
And is that what you're meaning when you're saying the ads? Are you talking specifically like Facebook, Instagram
ads?
Like
meta ads. Yeah.
Gotcha. Have you dove into like anything like Google or anything like that yet?
I do know how to do those. I don't love that as much. Like the, like keywords and stuff like that is not my favorite. I do a little bit of Google My Business stuff if I have clients that are like wanting to make sure that their Google profile is working well, because it all goes together. So if everything's not, up to par, it can mess up your journey. So I do a little bit of that, but it's not my favorite.
We're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsors. Home Day. Buying a home shouldn't be overwhelming. Home Day empowers you to save on your mortgage by putting you in control of the process. Lower your cost and take the next step towards home ownership with ease. Visit gethomeday.com today.
Fast Signs. From banners to vehicle wraps, Fast Signs delivers custom visual solutions to help your business stand out. Their team ensures your message is clear, bold, and effective. Get your signage needed handled at fastsigns.com. That's fastsigns.com.
Lowry Veterans Law. That's perfect.
Lowry Veterans Law is a nationwide veterans disability firm based in Colorado. Their VA-accredited attorneys specialize in TDIU unemployability, PTSD, and secondary service connection claims.
They work on contingency, no upfront fees, so they only get paid when you.
If the VA hasn't given you the rating you deserve, get a free case evaluation at LowryVeteransLaw.com or call 719-895-6979. Epic Eyewear. Stylish, affordable, and designed for adventure, Epic Eyewear has the sunglass and eyewear you need to see life more clearly. From the mountains to the beach, protect your eyes with high-quality frames and lenses. Check out their collection at epiceyewear.com. And by the way, Andrew, we do have a special discount, COSBP15, for 15% off, I believe.
Cars Helping Charities. Turn your unused cars into a meaningful contribution with Cars Helping Charities. They make it easy to donate your vehicle to support local causes. One of the local charities that we like to support on behalf of Cars Helping Charities, actually, and part of their sponsorship is Mattersville. And check them out too.
They're awesome. They are a tiny house community for veterans suffering with PTSD. They have a property out in Yoder, Colorado, and then they also have one in Sedalia, Colorado as well.
Donate today and make a difference. Visit carshelpingcharities.org. That's carshelpingcharities.org.
Dream Accounting Solutions.
Take the stress out of managing your books with Dream Accounting Solutions. They provide reliable expert accounting services tailored to small businesses. Simplify your finances at dreamaccountingsolutions.com. That's dreamaccountingsolutions.com.
Exponential Impact. Exponential Impact is driving innovation and entrepreneurial success in Colorado Springs. Supporting startups with mentorship, funding, and community resources, they help businesses grow and thrive. Learn more about their impact at exponentialimpact.com. That's exponentialimpact.com.
And now let's get back to the show.
When I worked at a big agency in Northern Colorado, they had us do the Facebook blueprint. I don't know if it's called that anymore, but it's essentially like the licensure that they required us to get to work for that agency. Yeah. And I don't know if you've ever even heard of that name.
I have.
Oh, you have? Okay. Well, back then at least, it like Google was a lot. And it took us about, on average, 3 to 5 weeks to get through that training. And then the Facebook one was like 5 times as long. And I was like, oh my gosh, like Google has all these different levers and tools. How is this so much shorter than the Facebook blueprint? Yeah. And I just remember how arduous it was to go through that. I don't know if it's still like that, but it was pretty challenging.
I feel like it still is. I feel like that's the feedback I get. I've tried to run an ad and I got through the first couple steps and I don't even know what some of these words mean. Or people may have ran ads before and then they've changed what things are called and what actually affects what. So a lot more people are, not feeling as confident about being able to do that themselves. many people are starting to feel more confident about doing their social media themselves, or, handing it off to a younger relative, or think they can do it. And sometimes they can, but it's not so with ads. People know that they are not going to be good at that, or, it's not going to come as easy to them. So they're a lot more likely to want to hire that part out. So.
It's also more risky too, because you're putting capital.
You're putting money. Yeah. It is dangerous, or feels more of a risk,
yeah, totally.
A business risk, but got to spend money to make money.
That's awesome. So you have really been a person who's kind of self-taught yourself. You didn't go to like a formalized training for this or anything like that. You probably have looked at the blueprint or other like certification programs, but mostly you've taught yourself this skill set. I mean, like social media management in itself is a whole profession.
Yeah.
Running ads on just Facebook and Instagram literally is its own profession.
Right.
How has that been? I mean, like I said to a lot of folks, like, I'm like, when I first bring on a client, I'm like, now this is your Meta Business Suite and this is your ads manager. Like they get confused. They're like, wait, I thought we're on Facebook.
What is what?
Talk about, learning all those things and like the differences and how you've been able to overcome some of those obstacles to kind of make this comprehensive package for a lot of your clients.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty lucky because my age group, we kind of grew up with this stuff. I mean, not as much as our kids or whatever, but this was sort of intuitive to me. So I'm that person. I will jump on a software and I'll mess around with it and I'll figure it out. So my first couple of businesses, it was all just testing, just seeing what worked, and it changes all the time, right? So I've kind of had to keep going with that as time has gone on, and especially the last couple of years, I've been really tough. But yeah, just testing stuff out, being willing to look stupid, being willing to, have that client be like, what are you doing? Trust me. And just really look at all the data and just see how it all fits. And I did do a lot of, YouTube classes, a lot of meeting with other social media managers. That's been a really awesome asset in my business. Is I don't feel like I really have a ton of competition. I feel like we all pretty much collaborate. And if there's something that I am better at and they are not, and vice versa, we just switch clients out and like, oh, you need to go to Jen for this, or you need to see so-and-so for this. And so that's helped. Sometimes we switch, or like, will you teach me this? And I'll help you with this. So I've had a really awesome journey with people that have been willing to teach me. And I've just spent a lot of hours on podcasts and a lot of hours testing stuff.
I think a lot of us do, especially like when you're starting up a business and you're by yourself because you're a solopreneur in the beginning. Like you have to do something to kind of keep you company, as sad as that sounds, right? Like we're kind of all working alone in the beginning. And so like we need things to kind of be soaking up information. So podcasts are like the perfect thing for that, right? It's
exactly.
Like we're listening about this podcast and learning while we're working on this project or putting together this account or whatever it might be. It kind of just works together for like a lot of this new age forms of entrepreneurship, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It's nice to have people that spend their precious time being willing to teach this, especially for like ads. It's a pretty intricate process and arduous to like explain. Like you just have to watch on the computer. It's not as easy to teach us some things, I would think. So it's cool that people dedicate their time to wanting to teach others. And that's how we learn and pass all this stuff down. And it's really cool.
The ironic aspect about that is that's their content strategy to bring in clients for them, or they're making money off the content. So they're not like the fun thing about that is that they're teaching the marketing, but they're also implementing it at the same time.
Right.
So it's a cool aspect, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's like, you're giving away all your secrets, man.
I know, right?
I had a friend tell me once, yes, you give a lot of value, but there are going to be people that are like, that's great. Now I can see that you know how to do that really well. Now just do it for me.
Exactly.
Everybody's different. Some people are like, soak it up, do it, see it once, do it once, and they can do it. And others are like, I don't even know what you just said. And not everybody learns that way too. So just kind of depends on your learning style. And yeah,
I always gauge like true intelligence, or at least your knowledge on a specific thing by like how you're able to distill really complex stuff and make it super simple.
Right.
I remember watching something about astronomy with Stephen Hawkins. Hawkins.
Hawkinson. No, I'm just kidding.
But he was like describing like how the universe works and all this stuff, and I'm like, man, if everybody just dumbed down things for me to understand, I could learn anything.
Everything.
Yeah. And it's just so interesting. So one thing that I use, I know we'll go a little bit more about this with you because I know you do coaching as well, is I use a system called Loom. I don't know if you've ever heard of Loom before, but for our audience at home, like tell them a little bit about that because it's a really good training tool for a lot of folks as well.
Yeah, super awesome. So this, especially for my ad clients. So I have some some of my clients are like, Jen, just do it. I don't even want to know what you're doing. And then I have some that say, hey, will you show me kind of how you do this? And they want to be able to watch it back a few times. So basically just turning on Loom, hitting record, and then you can just talk into the computer while it's recording everything you're doing. It's the best way to teach ads. It's just, you have to see it. It's not one of those that you can be like, click here, click here. It's so nice they can just follow you along. And then they have that video whenever they want. So they can put it up on one screen and be doing their thing on the other. So I've used Loom for a lot of stuff in my business. I've
used Loom for not just that, but for it's good for sending video emails to people.
Yeah.
Too.
True,
so
yeah.
And sometimes that is more effective because some people can see that you're real and like you can make things very personable that way.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
It takes more time, especially if like you're reaching out to lots of leads. But I mean, it's that quality over quantity kind of thing.
Builds a little bit of trust, I think, when people can see and hear your voice and stuff. I hadn't thought of it for that, but that's really good. I'll have to try that.
It's so great.
You use like basically you just have the link and you make it a thumbnail and then you hyperlink the thumbnail and they can just click on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. That's a good point. It also like it allows for you to eliminate meetings in a lot of ways, which a lot of us, especially us client facing folks, is like the biggest like pain in the butt, right?
Time
like
suck.
no one, everybody who's been doing this a long time is like, man, I have like 10 meetings this week, talk about the same stuff or might be or whatever. Rather just send like a Loom video of like, hey, here's the update. This is what I need you to check off on. Cool. Send me a comment back or a Loom back or whatever, and then it's over, and you don't have to waste time
such a
for
good idea.
a meeting. And I think that's like what their whole purpose of the company is now, because they talk about that like we're trying to eliminate meetings. For a lot of you client facing folks, and I'm like that's a really good way to do it. So we don't have to focus on that with the client as much.
Yeah, I did see that they have their little thing, their little slogan. Another meeting eliminated. Yeah, that's cool. Because that is especially when it's just you by yourself and you don't have, a lot of staff to just take over. And that has to be you, right? You couldn't really delegate that task to someone else. So that's brilliant. I'll have to try that. Because right now where I'm at in my business, it's a lot of meetings and a lot of teaching.
Yeah. And you have kids, you said?
Yeah.
Kiddos? How many kiddos do you
have? I have
6. 6 kiddos?
Yes,
holy cow. Okay.
It is as chaotic as it sounds.
What's the ages for the kiddos?
So I have 18, 15, 9, 7, 6, and 2.
Oh my gosh, across the board.
All of them, which actually is awesome because the teenagers help.
Yeah.
And it's so cool to watch them. Like I feel like my older kids are getting skills they never would have otherwise. It's super cool.
That is cool.
People are like, how do you do that? It has to be crazy. And it is a little crazy, but it's also really awesome.
Unless you keep phasing out, they're gonna unless you keep adding to it, they're gonna phase out.
I know. I'm like, I better stop now. No, this last one is our last one. We have one.
Did you say that last time?
Yeah, probably. Because there's so many years between my last two. But yeah, it's fun. I enjoy it. But having a 2-year-old and running a business is a whole culture. It's crazy.
Well, you said 2-year-old and your business is 2 years old. So they're kind of coming along the same time, weren't they? Wow. Yep. So again, like how do you delegate your time? Because like a lot of the folks here, like me and Andrew, we don't have kids just yet. And we still feel overwhelmed and bogged down sometimes. And it's just us to take care of, you know? How do you deal with that and delegate your time effectively?
So right now I have my teenagers help me. So I have a couple days a week where they help me. My husband works 4 days a week. So he's home on Fridays. So on Fridays I start 8:30, 9 o'clock and I end about the same. So I just do all my in-person client meetings all on Fridays. And usually that works well for people. They have Fridays too. So man, it's a rough day, but it's worth it. I just get it all done and kind of like batch my work. And I still can get things done during the day. Like there's a few tasks I can do while he's like running about or whatever. But for the most part, it's Fridays and my Tuesday and Thursday mornings. And I just kind of wing it. And it's worked out for me so far. So
that's great. Yeah. Do you do any kind of like micro breaks? I always switch off of what my micro break is. Like last year was pretty much like a walk, which was great actually. Kind of need to go back to that, I feel like. But I feel like those micro breaks, maybe midday kind of help, whatever it might be, even if it's like making yourself lunch and listening to a podcast, but actually listening and watching a podcast. Just kind of unplug, get back to it. And I'm like, all right, I'm recharged. I can get my brain power back to work on this thing. Do you do anything like that too?
I think most of us have probably gone through the first year. You just like work yourself into the ground and then you realize this is not sustainable in its current form. So I totally did that. I was just so excited and, motivation and and I had a lot of clients. It was really fun. And then year 2, I'm like, okay, this is not going to work the same way. My kiddo was older, into more stuff before, he wasn't running around. He was just in his little chair. And so things morphed. And so, yeah, I had to learn how to step back and be like, okay, I'm going to be burnt out, especially if I'm doing social media all day and then getting in bed and being on social media. I had to really learn how to take breaks from social media specifically. But yeah, midday, and just really kind of learning how to listen to how your brain is like done.
Yeah, I get that for sure.
Yeah.
And you're from Berthoud originally, right?
Yep.
Which I pronounced it right because
Yeah,
they made fun
no
of
one
me
does.
when I moved up there to Fort Collins, Loveland area. I thought it was Berthoud or whatever everybody calls
that's
it.
what everybody says.
But
Yeah.
like
normally people have never even heard of it, so I was super
I've
impressed.
never heard of it. So
Yeah.
it's a good spot.
Yeah, it's cute.
But so Colorado Springs is obviously a bigger city, but it's also a small city in Monument. I always tie them kind of both together because I grew up in the Monument area.
Yeah.
Word of mouth's big here,
Mhm.
and referrals are really big
Oh,
here.
huge.
And if you do like a bad, say, shady job, it gets around pretty quick in this town.
Yeah.
So talk to us about like referrals for you, because I've seen your name pop up a bunch around town, and like mostly like the 411 and the 719, people asking, hey, I need someone to help with social media, and then your name's getting posted a lot.
Yeah.
So talk about that, like your referrals of, your referral business, and like, of course, word of mouth in Colorado Springs and Monument area as well.
Yeah. So my first year, my word of mouth was everything. And I was pretty lucky. I didn't have to really market myself at all. And second year, wasn't as great. And I had more capacity to take on more clients than I did before. So I figured I need to get marketing. I didn't even have social media pages for my business.
Oh.
And so, also people are like, how do I know you can do this for me if you don't even have a page? And people do still judge by that. They'll like, oh, you only have 10 followers. Like how, which is kind of a bummer, because what I do for myself is so different than what I do for my clients. So I'm like, don't judge me by my profile, but that's a whole nother animal. But I started that year doing my own content, and it gave me a whole different perspective of especially camera confidence. It was really tough for me at first. I'm good at telling you to get on live and you to make videos and what to do. But then when I had to do it myself, there was like a whole visibility thing that came up, and I was shocked by that. I was not anticipating that struggle at all. So I had to go through that whole, working through that struggle, and I did, and it's much better now. But having, my own pages and my own marketing did really help. People can kind of go see what at least my style is. And yeah, my word of mouth marketing has definitely floated my business and has really helped. And it makes me really happy to be able to have business owners say, Jen helped me, and it was so much better afterwards. The relief is my favorite, because when I get in and get started on their stuff, they're just like, I don't know what to do. I'm overwhelmed. How do I even show me how to edit a reel? Show me how to do it. And so at the end, when they're like, just thank you, it is the best. Like I could live off of that feeling forever.
Yeah. So you said you didn't have to market that much in the first year. Why is that? Why? What was the reason why the word of mouth was so good?
I'm hoping it was because, I just delivered really good customer service. I definitely over deliver. So I had to learn how to, have a better boundaries and better pricing and, all the stuff you have to learn those first couple of years. But also, I have a tight knit community in Monument. So I spent a lot of time with my in-person networking. And I think people forget about the power of that, especially as like a digital service provider.
Right.
You can kind of sit behind your computer and have a whole business and never even see people. But I am a person that needs a lot of, in-person chatting and other entrepreneurs to help me. I've learned so much from networking. Just like, what did you do about this? Or how did you handle this? Or what did you do when this client said this? Just sharing that skill and showing up everywhere, and people felt like they could trust you more because they've already met you in person. And I think that's kind of typical. Like if you met someone, you're going to hire them versus someone you've just seen online. So I think getting out there and just being everywhere actually really helped me a lot too.
Yeah, that was a lot of my strategy. I was doing both online and in person. Matter of fact, actually, as we're speaking right now, I think one of the first networking events I went to is going on right now, literally like half a mile away. It's Power Connectors. It's
I've seen that one. I haven't been. But
it's a pretty. I might stop by after this.
You
but,
should.
But yeah, then that'd be fun. It's been couple years at least since I've been. And then tomorrow there's Million Cups here in this exact same space.
Oh, cool.
So,
I haven't been to that one. I've heard of that one too.
Yeah. So there's great networking opportunities here in Colorado Springs.
We'd like to take a quick break and thank our sponsors.
Awesome Home Services.
Awesome Home Services delivers top-notch HVAC solutions for your home. Whether you need heating, cooling, or system maintenance, they ensure your comfort year-round. Visit awesomeservice.com for your HVAC needs. That's awesomeservice.com.
Mike Schoening Legal Shield.
So you're out here living your best life and suddenly legal drama slides in your DMs. Major L, right?
Bruh, hard pass. That's why you need Legal Shield. They're like the GOAT of legal protection.
Business contracts covered. Traffic tickets, no sweat. 3 a.m. legal emergency, they're up like, say less.
Hit up the link and get Legal Shield now.
Protect your energy, secure the bag, and stay drama-free, period.
Visit mscheoeng.legalshieldassociate.com.
Planet Duct.
Planet Duct is the #1 choice for professional air duct cleaning in Colorado Springs and Southern Colorado. With state-of-the-art equipment and top-tier service, they make sure the air in your home or business is clean and allergen-free. Breathe easier with Planet Duct. Learn more at planetduct.com.
Franchise Succeed. Looking to invest in a franchise or grow your current one? The experts at Franchise Succeed help you navigate the world of franchising with proven strategies and guidance. Whether you're a first-time owner or scaling a franchise empire, they're here to help. Visit franchisesucceed.com to get started. That's franchisesucceed.com. Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care.
Pinnacle Advanced Primary Care offers affordable, accessible healthcare with a focus on you. They provide exceptional primary care without the hassle of insurance barriers. Experience a patient-centered approach. Learn more at pinnacleapc.com.
Celebrity DJ. Make your next event unforgettable with Celebrity DJ. From weddings to corporate events, they deliver energy and entertainment that keeps the party going. Visit celebrity-dj.com to book your DJ today. Storybook Destinations.
Turn your dream vacation into a reality with Storybook Destinations. They specialize in creating custom travel experiences from Disney vacations to bucket list adventures. Start planning today at StorybookDestinations.com. That's StorybookDestinations.com.
And now let's get back to the show.
And a good opportunity to give too. Like it's great, like it did a lot for my business, but it's also cool to be able to mentor newer people, not that I'm like have arrived anywhere yet, but it's people need help and people want to have a friend that understands this.
Yes.
It's totally different to have when your friends aren't entrepreneurs. It's just a totally different ballgame. I don't even know how to describe it, but
it's true. We want to know that there's other people side to side with, and we're not just doing this dang thing alone. And
right.
We're isolated. I talk about that all the time on the show, but it's so true, right?
It's so
especially because we all work on a computer, probably while the husband or partner's out working their full-time gig.
Exactly.
And it is kind of lonely,
It is
so
totally
it's so
lonely.
good.
Yeah.
And I have Andrew and Edgar. I mean, because they do marketing in their own right. So Edgar does video mostly, but I mean, there's an element to marketing, and Andrew's technically a marketer too.
Yeah.
So like we bounce ideas off each other all the time. And I feel like if you don't, you will fall behind by yourself just because there is so much going on.
Yeah.
And we'll talk a little bit more about this, but like AI, automation, different types of emailing, like there's so many things that are going through like their own little evolution right now.
Exactly.
And it's just so insane. If you don't have people who are like, hey, Jen, did you hear about this? Or hey, did you hear this thing called YouTube Shorts coming out now?
Yeah.
It's different. It's the same thing kind of as a reel, but there's different durations for them, And so like, even when we do the podcast, like we have to be conscious of that.
Yeah. You will fall behind because you could not possibly have your finger on the pulse of all the things, especially in our world. Like there's just no way. So yeah, it definitely helps to have other people in your corner and from other businesses too. Like product-based businesses. I've learned some from them too. And it just, it's nice to get out of your house, out of your, nice shirt, but pajama pants and, ditch that whole outfit and just be out in the world. It changed a lot and it built my confidence a lot it's, hard to believe. But in the beginning, I had a really tough time speaking in front of people. I can make videos all day now that I've, gone through that whole struggle, but I still struggle with speaking in person. But so I book speaking engagements to force myself to do it because I want to be better at it. But other entrepreneurs have taught me that, the only way to get there is to do it.
Yeah. And repetition. I mean, like, there was a time like 10 years ago, I did a lot of public speaking. And then when I got back into doing the podcast with Andrew, I was like, man, I feel like I don't have the skills I used to have when I was 10 years ago when I was like in my early 20s or whatever it was, when we first started this thing together as co-hosts. And so it's one of those skills you just always have to keep hammering.
And if you don't use it, you lose it for sure.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk a little bit more about some of the other services you provide other than just social media. We were looking you up and we saw like email, And then we saw like automations as
Yep.
well as email automations, and then coaching as well.
Yep.
Talk a little bit more about that, and if they're still going to be a service that you provide in the long term, or maybe they're not, but like it's cool to kind of see what you're doing and what you're offering right now.
Sure. So I have my business is actually a DBA of my larger business that my husband and I own together.
Oh, wow.
So he is a software engineer for a big company. And so that's what he does for his day job. And then in the evening, he helps me and my clients. So I started to notice as I was taking on social media projects, a lot of people were like, do you do websites? Or could you fix this like connection between this and this? Or could you just send a few emails? Like, that's just not I don't want to. And at first I was a little nervous about venturing into that, but we just noticed that if we kind of put our skills together, we could, increase our revenue.
Yeah.
So he does a lot more complex coding. He writes AI bots. He's all into
really?
AI. Like,
That's
it's
cool.
really cool. And he's written an AI bot that I use in my business that makes content calendars, which is super awesome. We can put all the branding in, everything, all the percentages of types of content we want, 80, 20. And so I offer that. I use a lot of what he makes for me, for my clients to make their lives easier. So we work in unison to provide basically whatever people need. But, as you learn, as you go through the years, you just can't do everything. So I think this year we're going to focus on ads and more of the AI, because if you don't get on the AI train, you're going to be left at the station. And we actually love it. It's so cool to see all the stuff it can do. And it has revolutionized our business.
Oh yeah.
All of the stuff that used to just take so much time is just done. We don't have to worry about it. So it has really been, leaning into AI and not being scared of it and incorporating it into what we're doing has been able to give us more offering for our clients and help us do more with the less time that we have.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, you just said AI bot, and me and Andrew, we've been working on that for a long time, but for some of our viewers at home, what is an AI bot?
So basically, a thing you can train, he knows more about this than I do, but the thing you can train to, give back information that you need. So for us, it's nice because we can put in anything about that person's business and they're not just getting a content calendar with some random ideas. It incorporates, and he writes them and adds all, like I've seen his screen with all the stuff. It is insane. But yeah, he understands it obviously better than I do. I stay in my lane with my social media, but it's been really cool to see all the stuff he can do. And I'll ask him like, well, couldn't it do this? Can you make it do this? Oh yeah. So it's been really fun just to watch him, get his skills going with that and learn more as he's tried it and played with it, and then be able to use it for something I can offer to my clients. So,
oh gosh, it's so cool. And then I know there's I don't remember what the term is, but like ChatGPT just rolled out Operator, which is its own really cool thing in its own
AI
right.
agents.
Yeah, but it's like essentially, I forgot what they call it, like curse control. It's just a form of AI essentially just taking on a task and opening up its own window and performing tasks, which is like
it's
not just spitting feedback, but it's actually performing a task. There's a term they've been using, but that's
it
insane.
Can book flights.
It can book flights.
It can go
dinner.
scan websites.
Yeah.
It is really cool. Because that has been a limitation, right? When you want to be able to put in, go to this, website and give me this information. And it's sort of gotten better, but now this is really robust. So I'm excited to see how it's going to work out.
It's really interesting to see the future. I mean, this applies to all businesses, by the way, just because, your executive assistant, what does your executive assistant do? Are they booking meetings? Are they booking your lunch plans? Are they, scheduling airlines for your team to go here for a corporate event? Are they, answering and fielding emails? Like in a matter of months in this year, that can potentially just be completely AI that does that. So it changes the scope of all businesses. So it's so great that you're looking into that with your husband. He's kind of doing the technical stuff, which is awesome. The 1-2 punch there, right?
Yep.
Talk to us about that too. Is like the changes so quickly, even since you've been in business, like the past 2 years has been insane. You know?
Yeah. When we first started ChatGPT, probably other people were like more, knowing about it than we were. But once we kind of got going with it and learned what it could do, my husband was the same way. He's neurodivergent as well. And he was like, I have to know how to build these. It's not enough for me to be able to use it, which is actually super cool. So just in the 2 years that we've been really focusing on offering this stuff for clients, oh my gosh, it's completely different. And it's pretty cool to see ChatGPT every time they do an update. Like, oh, check this out. Oh, now it has a, an integration with Canva. That's cool. And, it's still kind of like interesting to see how it evolves in the social media area, because you still hear those chirps about like, oh, that caption is AI, that was written by ChatGPT. And is that okay? Does that make you lazy? Does that, like all the different just environment around how that works in social media? I think people are starting to accept it a lot more, and the bots are getting better. So you can continue to humanize them, and you virtually can't tell. So
I actually train it sometimes to specifically not do specific things, because a portion of people will notice that as AI. It'll scream AI to them. Maybe 50% of people don't even notice it, but the people that do notice it, it could be a lot of people. Yeah,
I do that too. I'm like, make this sound, take out all the phrases naturally
associated
with AI. And you learn, like, you get to be better at prompting. Like, my husband's a master at prompting, and I'm getting there. I'm getting a lot better, and knowing you can reward it. Like, I'll give you $1,000. Like, who knew? It's just funny.
Well, that's a great point. You just mentioned the word prompting. So I feel like that's we know already that's a skill.
Yeah.
To prompt this AI. Because, we've been doing it for years. So now, like, when I'm talking to it, I'll prompt it just like this back and forth. And my girlfriend's like, can you ask Chat? I'm like, why don't you ask? She's like, I don't know how to prompt it like you. I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize
that's a thing.
That's a thing, that I'm prompting it back and forth, and it's doing things for me just like butter, because I've been doing it every day.
Right.
For 2.5 years or whatever it's been. So it's just, it's so incredible to see that. And of course it's affecting social media, right? Our clips for our show.
Yeah.
We use that thing called Opus Clips.
Yeah, that is so cool.
Yeah. It's amazing. It helps like get us 90% there for a lot of our edits and clips and everything too. There's definitely some human hand to it currently for quality control, just because sometimes I'll pull up some random stuff, especially with our B-roll, but like, it's pretty dang good.
Because it generates AI images sometimes too, and sometimes it's funny. And the ones that they generate, some of Michelle's ones were funny because it tried to generate her.
Yes.
You're like, wait, no, too far. Back
it got the red scarf right because she was wearing that on her episode. Or not scarf, handkerchief.
There's a brunette girl slinging drinks because she owns a zero proof bar here in Colorado Springs called Gratitude. And she's so awesome. But she was wearing like a really cool red bandana on her episode.
So kept trying to like generate things with that bandana on it.
That's awesome. It's so funny. And you get to learn like images immediately. Like I've had some clients come to me and they're like, I had my logo made, and I'm like, oh, ChatGPT made that.
There's an aspect of that too. As a graphic designer myself, ChatGPT and using AI has helped me as a graphic designer.
Yeah.
Because it helps take out the minutia of a lot of the small stuff, but I have the skills to go in and I can fine tune anything. Like, I can, if you want to change this, I can do that. Right now I can't do that, but with these agents, maybe soon.
It's evolving so fast.
Couple of years, maybe. Like maybe not even that, to be honest. The speed that it's going. But it's actually allowed me to sell more logos because of that. Because like I can take on more things and not
go faster.
Yeah, go faster. It expands and punches up what I can do, and I can also punch up what it can do.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing, actually.
Yeah. It's helped me a lot in my ad copy.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like ad copy, it's just not for me and maybe some other social media marketers, the ad piece, the more salesy language doesn't come as natural to us because we're used to just, talking with captions, and it is a different skill.
Definitely.
So it's helped me really learn that skill. And like you said, it helps me learn so I can kind of see what it brings back. And I'm like, oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. And it gives me a new vocabulary and just new ideas I wouldn't have thought of on my own. So I feel bad for the copywriters out there that have lost their jobs.
Well, but it's teaching you those things too. So you're taking those on into the future.
Exactly.
Like, it helps you with learning new things that you wouldn't have thought of. And then you carry that with you. Moving
a
forward.
skill. Yeah. It's really cool. It's definitely been a game changer for us.
I see it like this, like the copywriter, like you're saying, like it's the difference between like when the farmer had to till his own land, now he has the tractor.
Right. Yeah.
It's like you have a tractor now.
Now he has
like
a drone.
Exactly.
Like, a Bugatti of whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And if they're able to learn the prompts and prompt this thing, it's only going to help their profession too. And it's so cool to see. And like you said, ad copy is completely different than like a social media post, right? Completely different. A lot of our clients don't even understand the difference between the two, or what ad copy is, and like language barriers too.
Right.
So it's cool to see, like, again, like you could tell you've been doing this longer than 2 years just because of your language and stuff like that. You're a seasoned marketer for sure. So that's kind of cool to see for sure. Is there any other services? I know we're talking about coaching and stuff like that, that you provide. I know automation, is that through your husband too as well?
He builds like funnels and automations and that kind of
cool.
stuff.
So automations is like in their business, like explain like what an automation would be.
Sometimes it's emails. Like if you want, like say like you're a spa owner and you want every person that has their eyelashes tinted, you want to send them a special email that's specific to that eyelash aftercare or whatever. He makes all of those and makes it so it's triggered by certain things. So in that, there's a lot of different places you can use automation. And for me, I think of like emails.
Yeah.
But he can build all of that stuff, which it helps. Another thing that just helps business be a little easier. It takes some minutia, like those little tasks out of the way, and they're just automated and done. So he does that part.
That's cool.
Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I want to lean into ads this year and just really hone that skill and really have a bunch of different businesses that I've done it for, so I can see the differences. And that's a way to learn it and just really dial in on that ad copy, because last year's ad copy is not going to work the same as this year's ad copy.
Totally.
So
is there a strategy in place that you kind of figured out and you're like, oh, I love to deploy this specific strategy? It seems to work for a lot of different verticals of businesses, that you're able to like almost like your proprietary service that you can provide that's like your secret sauce.
Yeah,
things.
Absolutely. I think a lot of times a lot of ad strategists leave out the testing part, and that's where I shine. I love testing, just tweaking, and it's not big things because then you couldn't isolate what changed. So just little things, trying all of them out, and then once you've learned what's going to be good, putting more money behind the one instead of just chunking your money all into one, hoping it works out, and then really disappointed when it doesn't. That testing piece is so crucial.
Yeah, you sound very analytical, because that's exactly what it is, right?
Yeah, all analytics. I love that stuff.
That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I always tell, and so my background when I created my last agency, Recon, we already worked at agency. I've done marketing freelance for a long time by then, but I wanted to only work with established businesses with that company, because what I found is that marketing is testing, a lot of testing. And what I also found is that when I was working at an agency, that every person under the sun who's just kind of coming into business, they don't really know that marketing is testing, and they might not even have the budget to test.
Exactly.
And so it was really scary for them to be like, hey, like, we need to test this methodology. I guarantee we're going to get somewhere if you keep with me, because we're going to find out a lot of things that work for your business and a lot of things that don't work for your business. And a lot of them couldn't stomach that. So I was like, I wanted to work with more established businesses who've done advertising in the past, and they know that. Yeah. Is that kind of the ideal client that you go after as well?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think in the beginning, you know how you do. You just take anyone and then you learn. And every business has its place in the journey, and that's just how it is, and that's great. But for me, it helped being able to see that, like, more seasoned businesses, they understand. They're able to say, oh, we've done this before and we know how it turns out. We trust you. There's nothing better to hear as a marketer. Like, I trust you, Jen, figure it out, So absolutely. I have been talking to other people too about like, okay, how do I market specifically towards those businesses that are ready to do this, especially with ads? Because if you don't have to have a huge budget, but you have to have a budget. You have to spend money to make money. And when you're in those very early stages, that's just not the time and place for that strategy.
Totally. That's 100% right. That's so good that you've learned that. I mean, and the funny thing about it is it's kind of like a catch-22, because you're probably getting paid more too, right? Yeah. So it's like, not only are you getting paid, but you're feeling now that you have the self-confidence of what you're worth. Right. But you find that like the ones who actually do pay you more give you the most trust.
It's so true. Isn't that crazy?
It's just the weirdest thing. And I was finding that too at the agency that I worked at, is like the ones who pay me the bare minimum, call me every 5 minutes. I need this.
So many complaints.
So many complaints.
And as a new business owner, that process can break you.
Right. Yeah.
Like, just, they don't trust me and they're calling me, and am I doing a good job? And all the worth issues in the beginning.
Oh gosh.
Oh yeah.
It's like, if you can get past that part, like, you're sailing. So
oh my gosh, I totally get you for sure. It's tough. One of my first clients I ever had at an agency was like that hot-headed, low-hanging fruit, kind of low price point client. Yeah. And he rang. And the thing about the agency that I worked for is that we all had these really fancy Bluetooth headphones, which is cool. But everybody can actually dial into that and listen if they want. And you don't even know.
Holy
cow.
So
like when you're new and they know you're going through something, because they can hear, they can kind of listen and coach you up, which is a good thing. But it's also you feel pressure.
Yeah, that's
who's
a whole
listening to this
pressure.
call? This guy's mad at me. This is my first client.
Yeah.
And then again, the self-worth thing kind of creeps in. So it was like a baptism by fire to be like, I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a while now. Yeah. My strategy works. We're somehow misaligning, and then figuring out how to de-escalate the
Right.
situation. It's like, is he really mad
Mhm.
because this ad isn't working, or is he mad about something else?
Right.
And kind of being able to dissect that during the call
Right.
was a skill that I had to learn,
Right.
you know, early on, very quickly.
Yeah.
Talk about some of those experiences with you, like learning to deal with people,
Yeah.
to deal with business as people. It's not just like
Exactly.
all fun marketing. Like we're dealing with people and their emotions and how they woke up that day, all
Oh
those
my
different things
gosh.
as well.
Yep. Oh, totally. The first couple of years, I think the one place my bachelor's degree that I haven't used has been helpful is in psychology. So it has helped me at least just understand.
Mhm.
At first, when you're still new and you're not confident in your skills, you start blaming yourself for stuff. And then over time, you learn, okay, he just had a bad day. Or maybe he is a little scared about spending money. You know, maybe this is a scary risk for him to take. You know, we all have different tolerance for levels of risk. And that's been, I think, the one that I notice the most is when ads are involved and when spending money in that way is involved, it's a little harder. But yeah, you develop your skills as a people person, and you don't develop them by everything being peachy and like working out. A lot of times it's that baptism by fire, which is so uncomfortable, but that's when you learn the most. That's when you're growing the most, and you learn kind of your style of de-escalation and how to verbalize. And then as you get more confident, you learn to say things like, I have done this many times before. My experience has been, and then you hear yourself talking like that and you're like, whoa, I've actually like, that's true. I know what I'm doing and I have confidence in my skill and my ability to make this happen for you, but you have to be able to trust me along the way. So just, it's funny to hear yourself evolve in what you say over time.
Totally.
So
What a way to posture up with clients. That's like one of the last pieces to learn is like not only like de-escalate, but also like sometimes you got to push back
yeah,
and be like, listen, this is the storm we're going through, but it's for a good purpose. This is where we're heading.
right.
Every ship goes through a storm someday, you know, we're going through it, but this is where we're going to end up.
Exactly.
And I promise it won't always be like this, but this is the things that, again, we're gaining intel.
Right.
We're learning things. We're pivoting depending on that. And we're turning levers and putting money where it needs to go. It's definitely not for the faint of heart,
No.
and definitely for people who have those skills. I have never seen somebody last very long if they don't develop those skills.
Exactly.
A very thick skin. And even with Andrew, like in video production, it's kind of the same thing. You know, they're like timelines, expectations, client react. It's very similar when you're client facing in anything that you deliver.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting for video because it's almost like you're giving a piece of yourself because it's your art too.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
your
That's an
creative.
interesting aspect for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it hits your worth all different.
Oh yeah,
you know?
yeah. So you got to be careful with that. You got to
Yeah.
really separate yourself from it, and it's almost impossible to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what doesn't work is just as important as what does.
Mhm.
And
Yes.
I think that's takes time for people to really grasp that.
And it's subjective too. A lot of creative stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
you could know it's really good, and you just have to understand that that because someone doesn't like something,
Right.
not everyone likes Lil Wayne, you know.
Right. What?
Yeah.
And you know, it's like that's just what it is. So
Right.
so,
Different
but there's
levels.
things with branding and with marketing. It's like that's why you do the consultations. You have those hour-long conversations before you do any creative work, because that helps you get in their head.
Right.
And then it's that makes that way you can understand, like, I'm not creating my vision, I'm creating their vision.
Exactly.
And then so like once you do that, like then you can take your ego out of it a little bit better.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
that helps.
Well, and it's hard too with social media, especially, you know, with people that have been in business a long time. They don't really understand how social media works. So I'll make a reel and I know that it'll be great. It'll
Mhm.
perform great for XYZ reasons. And they look at it and they're like, what is this? You know, kind of like as you get older and your teenagers are, what are they listening to? That kind of, you know, vibe. They just don't understand why that works. And sometimes we don't understand why certain music is trending. It sounds horrible to me too, but
Mhm.
we kind of have to play the game. And it's hard to get people to understand that if they haven't been immersed in social media like we have most of our lives.
Right. Well, you just said something really interesting when you said like trending music.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our folks at home are like, what are you talking about trending
What do
music?
you-
Or trending sounds,
Yeah.
really. Like, you know, people are voicing over something. So
Yeah.
talk about that too.
So trending music, oh my gosh, or sounds. So that's an important piece of creating a reel that does well. So it helps people start kind of jumping on that trend and creating more videos, and then it gets more traction. And then you can even go to the page where that trending music is and see all the
Mhm.
creative that's been made with that one song. And I don't know if you probably have go through all the, trending music for that day when I'm trying to make creative for people and just click through and look at what's trending that day. And Instagram is where I spend the most of my time. And some of the sounds, I'm like, why is that trending? Who knows? Some things catch on.
Viral, whatever,
go viral, and you just don't have any idea. It's something silly or something you would not think that would be. But there's a lot of things I don't understand about the trends. But
the interesting thing about that too is that just 4 or 5 years ago, that wasn't even a thing on Instagram yet.
Exactly.
Like that was just a TikTok thing alone. And then
exactly.
just 2 or 3 years before that, like that wasn't even
that
was like Musically thing. And then it's
evolved for sure.
Just 4 years ago, it wasn't even like that on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like the whole sound thing. But now it's like a big aspect, and maybe it's even on its way out.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I've heard whispers that hashtags are on their way out of Instagram, which I'd be fine with.
Yeah.
It's just another piece of strategy that people stress over that they don't need to. And I'll be happy to see that go. It makes sense that captions would be SEO optimized. You know, use
especially with
keywords.
AI. Like that can analyze the transcripts. So like you don't need the hashtags because they can hear that you're talking about it.
Exactly.
And the thing about hashtags, I think, is that like currently it doesn't hurt you, so might as well do it.
Right.
Like,
that's what I do.
Actually, it might actually hurt you. Like, who knows?
Who knows?
Like, what if the algorithm thinks that's spammy?
And
they de-rank it. So
I know. It's so hard, and there's so many gurus on there giving advice every day. How do you know what to follow? And you really only know what to follow by testing. And it's different for each account. What works for one business does not work the same for another. So you learn those things as you go. And some of the stuff that goes, I was talking to a friend about this today. Some of the stuff, a video that you make goes viral and it's nothing you would ever think. It's just something you off the cuff. You just wanted to get something up that day.
Yeah.
And I have one that did that 214,000 views. It was just something I just like leaned into the camera and said something about like showing your face on your business page. Because,
it resonated.
Yeah. And people were like, oh.
Yeah.
And
the frustrating thing about that as a videographer is you could spend 10 hours on a video.
That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say. The ones that you work so hard on, you're like, this is it. This is the one that's going to like change my life. You know, that's more on TikTok. But you spend so much time and you think it's good. You've poured heart into it. And then you put it on there, 200 views.
And there's a strategy with that too. It's like, okay, why didn't it work? So you can take that same video. Oh, didn't it work? Let's switch up the beginning. Try to find a better hook. Switch things around. Post it again. And there's a lot of people that have talked about where they've done that 4 or 5 times. And then the 5th time they did it, it blew up. So it's like there's that aspect is even harder because it's harder to remember to do that.
Exactly. That's how I treat my page that I have. Is it's basically just a testing page. I just cut things up, try it again.
Smart.
So I think sometimes people go, if you go look at it all in a whole, they're like, that's a little unhinged. And but it's worked well for me because I can use that to inform me for strategy for other people's accounts.
Very smart.
Yeah, and people don't look at the grid anyways. Like,
I know.
People see it on their feed. They don't they can go to your grid and that can but the majority of people aren't going to see the grid.
They're
not even going to care if it looks pretty either.
I know that's been a big thing recently. And a lot of my clients ask me that, should I spend the time to make covers? I'm like, I don't think maybe I made covers once or twice when I first started, but I just grab something. I honestly choose the craziest clip of, you know how you can kind of choose out of your video a still. I choose like where I'm doing kind of something funny or just weird because people stop. It's to stop the scroll, right? That's what it's for.
It's a clickbait.
So I just put something weird and be quirky with it because I do that. I'll see one where someone looks like they're like biting into something you can't see, and you're like, "What is this guy doing?"
Yeah,
and then I end up watching 2 minutes of video. I don't even know why I'm watching.
That's a massive thing actually to make sure that like you're doing that, but it's not for the aesthetic of your grid.
Exactly.
It's for the hook.
Exactly. And attention. That's how my brain works. And it's so hard to translate that to someone who just doesn't have as much experience in it. They're like, well, don't you want it to look nice? And I don't really care about that. The aesthetic part, I think makes zero difference. I don't, and for myself, I wouldn't choose to follow someone because I think I would deter me from following someone if they had all the nice covers.
That's like almost like that's a 2000 and late kind of thing, you know, like a 2019 kind of thing.
You're making yourself look old. That and diagonal text.
That's so
no
true.
more diagonal text.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say like, and this is another thing that's like another headache for a business owner. Again, another reason to hire you is like Facebook is different audience than Instagram versus YouTube versus TikTok versus LinkedIn versus Twitter. Like there's all these different types of channels, and technically they all usually have different types of audience.
Oh yeah.
So
completely.
talk about that and like strategies for that, because it's it's a lot. It's super overwhelming. Another reason again to hire you.
Yeah, it is a lot. And what I tell my clients is pick one and go all in on it. And then once we feel really comfortable with that and we have that batch created and it kind of runs on its own, then let's add something else in. Because I think a lot of people have the programs where they post once and it goes everywhere. And I don't love that. Actually, if one of my clients is doing that, when I onboard them, I ask them to stop doing that because I think that does more harm than good. There's some that lend better to others and we can kind of get away with it. And a lot of people have like their Instagram go straight to Facebook, and I think that's okay. But what works on Instagram is not going to work on LinkedIn. Completely different. Like, what do they say? It's like walking into a cocktail party with a cup of coffee. Like, bro, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So just realizing those differences and being able to find pieces of content that you can make work. Maybe there's just a little tweak. Maybe it's just something small. But yeah, I try to tell people, just focus on one, go all in on it, work really hard on it. And then everything you learn from that platform is going to inform you for when you start adding other ones. So you'll burn yourself out quick. And then you'll have all these videos on all these platforms for like a month and then nothing going forward. So it's not worth it.
That's 100% true. We've actually had to do that in some of our clips too, because we're posting similar like vertical clips, but like we've noticed that we can, maybe do something different for Instagram versus YouTube. And Facebook, I've actually taken a lot of those reels off of our Facebook, and now we're doing other stuff like more thought-provoking questions on it and getting our audience to kind of engage with like whatever.
Yeah.
Like, what's one thing you think Colorado Springs can be doing better right now? And then like they'll comment.
Yeah.
So now we're doing like
love
more
those thoughtful questions on Facebook. I've noticed that too.
Yeah, and it's worked. You're so right. So it 100% works for folks, and it's so cool to see you in this light and doing your thing for sure. Yeah. What is like the 2025 plan for Slay Social with Jen?
I really want to just focus on giving really good ad products. I know a lot of people get really overwhelmed, even just going into the business suite. And I would love to be the person that can take that and make that into money for them. So like I said, organic strategy just isn't working like it used to. And so many people are burning themselves out, just posting day after day after day. And it's defeating when you don't see the results and you're not seeing conversion. And I think ads can kind of boost up that strategy, and having someone come in alongside you and still, do your organic content, maybe take some pressure off, because there's enough pressure as a business owner. Like, we have so many balls in the air, and just hoping I can come in and help some business owners be able to focus on what they love and what they're good at and have someone else just do the rest.
Love it. And do you have any fun things that you have planned with the family that's not business related this year? Anything like that? Because it sounds like you've been balls to the wall for 2 years.
Yes, absolutely. We are actually, next week, we're going to the Dominican Republic.
What?
For a week, which is an act of Congress to get all the kids taken care of, school, dogs, everything. So it was a miracle. Thank you to my two mother-in-laws that are splitting the job. And I've never been to the Dominican, so I'm really excited. My best friend's getting married there. So that is we try to take one trip a year. Sometimes it doesn't happen. But this year it's happening. So I'm super excited.
That's awesome. And so have you done it with your business yet? Like taking a week-long vacation before?
Yes, I did. On my 40th birthday this summer, we went to Florida for a week. And I learned the hard way that if you completely stop posting, you lose all your reach.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to test it. And I really wanted to be present on that vacation. And so you kind of, you make those decisions as a business owner and, what's going to be worth the cost.
Right.
And so I did. I kind of turned off my phone and I got back and I was like, I got to start over. But it was funny.
It's like lifeblood pumping. It's like, if it's not pumping, then you're dead.
Exactly. And like, that's not fair. Yeah. What about everything I've posted this whole time? But I think it's important for business owners to know that it's okay to take a break. It's okay that your reach is half down, it's okay. And I think we get so wrapped up in those numbers. And I can say, I have maybe 150 followers on Facebook. I think I have 1,300 on Instagram, and I am fully booked. So awesome. It's not about how many followers you have. It's not about that. Those, they say vanity metrics. Yes, it's important to have eyes on your content. But you can still run a successful, profitable business with just some regular amount of followers.
And it is a vanity metric, but there is something, especially for certain businesses more than others. Like if people see that there's this person has 10,000 followers, that does something to people for some reason.
It builds credibility. Even if they have no credibility, even they could have bought all of those followers. And a lot of times that is what's happened. But yeah, it is funny how we just like attribute trust and whatever else credibility to a number.
Yeah,
but it is
there's
true.
a scale to that too, because it's like The Rock has 100 million or whatever it is, and then this artist has 1 million, and it's like that's still insane and still good, but there's a difference there too. It's like, and it does something to your brain when you see that. It's like it's a massive percentage of the population,
exactly.
And then like so it's like there is levels to that, and like I think it's somewhat important, but it's not what the focus or the reason why you're doing it should be. I think
for small business owners too, because I think it's easy to get caught up in that number, and then you become defeated, and then sometimes give up because I didn't get anywhere when you might have just been right before the turn the corner.
Totally.
So don't give up.
What kind of you said that you listen to a lot of podcasts. Yeah. What kind of podcasts do you listen to learn more about marketing?
Oh man, all kinds.
Or just in general, yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of content creators just to see. I follow the crazy all amount of different content creators because I love to see it's a creative skill and it's their art, and I love to see what different content creators do and how they run their platforms and what things are important to them. So a lot of content creation stuff, a lot of health stuff, because I'm always at my computer and can't exercise. So maybe if I like listen to people talking about exercising, I'll be more inclined to do that. Hasn't worked yet, but
it's called priming.
Yeah, exactly. So I ironically listen to a lot of health stuff and a lot of local, just wanting to see
some examples.
Let's see. I listened to Shannon McKinstry. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's just
I love people I haven't heard of yet.
Yeah, she's just a content creator that helps other people grow on Instagram, other small businesses. And she's just cool. She's laid back. She's normal, authentic. So she's kind of cool to listen to. And her podcasts are only 10 minutes. So she just jumps on, gives a quick thing. And then, of course, Brock Johnson. He's everybody. I think, do you guys know who he is?
Actually, no, I don't.
Another content creator guy. He's kind of a funny, quirky. So his podcast, trying to think. I like my mind right now.
Marketing wise?
Social Media Examiner. Have you ever heard of them?
Yes.
Okay, that one's pretty cool. They have their own little live podcast. I don't know if you've heard of them.
No, I've heard of. I know them through articles, not through social media. Actually,
yeah. Marketing Millennials.
Yeah.
I listen to that one. I see them and I follow them all, and then I put on shuffle, and I like that because it's not ones you'd always go hand pick, and sometimes those are the ones you need to hear.
Right.
So
totally.
I just put on shuffle, and it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of the, like Social Media Examiner will bring like other creators, like so maybe some of the creators they'll come and do like a roundtable discussion around Instagram.
I love that,
and that's freaking cool. I learned so much, and they're like, "This is all the things that have been rolled out on Instagram." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I don't know if I can fill my brain with there's all this new stuff, but this is crazy. Like, there's so much information being thought shared, which is really cool,
awesome,
especially if you have capacity for that. Like, and you're really honing in on your skills, like you're saying for like the ads and." More specifically meta, so like Instagram, Facebook, it makes it a little bit easier, even though that alone is a lot to learn. It's a ton to learn. Have you ever thought about going to other spaces as well? Like doing ads for LinkedIn, or we talked about Google a little bit too, but like, or TikTok or anything like that?
I really want to learn more TikTok. I kind of didn't lean into it. We all know why. I did not want to spend my precious minutes there if it was just going to go away. So I don't know if we're surprised or not that it's still here, maybe not. But so I would really like to lean into that this year. I never understood TikTok. Maybe I was too old for it. I don't know. But right before it shut down, I got really into it. And I love the creative freedom on TikTok. I love the algorithm just works different. So I'd really like to learn and help some creators do like TikTok shop. Like people are making a lot of money on there. I'd love to understand that better.
This guy was getting into some e-commerce too. And he can even speak a little bit more to like the future of that, but even Gary Vaynerchuk has talked about like the future of like live shopping on those platforms, which is massive in Asia, and it's going to be really big. He's predicting it's going to be really big. It kind of already is getting bigger here in the US, and just like so many people have no idea what we're talking about.
Yeah. And that's like goes down to Whatnot, which is a whole different platform, but they're the rising platform with the social selling, obviously. Social selling
by
the seashore.
Yeah, exactly.
Social selling by the seashore. But yeah, they're like that's a massive one right now. But like TikTok's actually a bigger player in that just because there's such a massive force.
But there's more people on it. It's
the cool thing about Whatnot though is like it's about the quality over quantity.
Right.
Like when you go to Amazon. You go there with an intent to buy. Exactly. Obviously, if you're not going to Amazon Video or anything, but like if you're going there you're going there to buy. So
Right.
it's like when you're on Whatnot, you're going there to buy. So people are already primed essentially to be in the state of wanting, they know that they're going on there to spend money. Like if you know, when you go on to YouTube, you're going to learn something or be entertained.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's the same thing, but now Whatnot has framed themselves as people, their audience knows that they want to spend money.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
It's like a live auction platform.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like people, like you can have your listings on there, like you can have your products on there, like product listings for certain auctions too. So it's like an auction thing too as well. So like a lot of sports cards and Pokemon cards are big on there because like they'll do like $1 starts or something like that, where like it's an auction. But if you have a good enough audience, you can actually do pretty well over
time.
Over like just people will go on there for like 10 hours a day. Like there's actually companies that like trading card companies that they run it like a business. Actually, it's actually just one guy. He doesn't get on stream at all, but he hires these kids over here to just be on stream all day. And like and you can see it because it'll be the same account, but there'll be different shifts. Like every morning it's this guy, and then like in the evening it's that guy. So this guy's just hiring people to run the whole show for him. You know,
it's like QVC, but like
it's exactly QVC. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And TikTok has that feature in it too. It's just Whatnot specific for it. So like we got new platforms that are coming out. You know, it's like people don't even talk about Snapchat, but it's massive.
Yep.
Like if you use it and spend your time there, though, it could work for you. It's just a matter of spending the time to do it,
to learn it. And the best way to learn a platform is to use it. Immerse yourself in it. Use it. Be a expert user first, and then you can start teaching it.
Yeah. Do you ever get on with a client and you're like, okay, now we're going to create like a reel and then like a story from here, and then we're going to post a carousel, and they're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. What is a carousel? I'm like, oh my gosh, where have you been? Yeah. And then I just tell them it's just, pictures. And you kind of have to zoom out and think, okay, there's so much jargon, right? And you have to be careful because we get so used to it. We're immersed in it. We can talk so quickly to each other, and you forget that. And you have to be kind of scaled back with clients and remind yourself.
Especially if you're neurodivergent too.
Exactly. Like you're always trying to find the shortcut for the conversation, and it doesn't always work out well for new clients. But I feel like more and more people are spending more time on platforms, and people are learning. So
what would one piece of advice you'd give somebody who's just starting up and they're doing the same profession as you, but they're starting tomorrow, and any piece of advice you give them day one, starting their business, anything, maybe some potholes not to hit along the way that you might've hit. Talk about that.
I would say just to give yourself grace to learn. I think we expect it out of ourselves to just know everything right away, and we should just get out there. And now I own a business, so now I like put on my jacket, and it's just not like that. So I wish I would have been a little bit more open to my own learning process and knowing it's okay that I don't know everything about this, because you do as you get going. So like just knowing that ahead of time and being able to have that almost like a piece, like this is a learning process. You're not going to arrive anywhere and then be the whole, the guy that says he's the guru on Instagram. You only have to know 10% more than your client to be able to be of service to them. So I tell myself that over and over now. And, you're going to know a different thing than another social media provider. We each have things that our brains kind of latch on to. That's the other thing I'd say too. It's really hard in the beginning when you see all these competitors out there and you compare yourself to them, and you're unique. You have your own sauce you bring to strategy and social media. And some people might like working with you because your personality is whatever, so just to remember that there's enough business for everybody, and everybody has something for someone. Everybody learns different, and your teaching style may just speak to that person over another, and it's okay. There's clients for everybody.
I love it. That's a great way to end this show. I think that's is there any last minute before we give you the camera, but any people in the community of Colorado Springs and Monument that you would suggest for some folks? Because we all need help, and we all have people who somewhat mentor us or like at least help us with different types of insights. We always bounce things off each other, so in a way we kind of are each other's resources. Is there anybody in the community that you've ever used that's a person who's been there for you and has kind of helped you with insights, pitfalls, all those different things as well?
I have been working with a business coach. She has Complete Small Business Academy. Her name's Jessica. She is like the neurodivergent. She's neurotypical. So she can take neurodivergence people's crazy disjointed, unended thoughts and make them into a very organized plan. So met with her one time, told her what all my goals were. She was able to give me back a whole weighted time block and run my business. Cause that's the biggest blind spot, I think, for neurodivergence. We're really good at our craft, but the minutia of the business part and knowing how to manage our time is really a pitfall for us. Mm-hmm. So being able to bring in a neurotypical to get the business the way it should be. Jessica's awesome. She's helped me revolutionize my ability to keep this business going when I'm pretty time blind and I'm just an ADHD girl. I can only do what I can do.
In an ADHD world.
Yeah, just doing my thing. I need some help. We all do.
Awesome, Jen. Well, that's your camera. Where can we find you?
I am slaysocialwithjen.com and then Slay Social with Jen, both on Instagram and Facebook.
Love it. Yeah. Well, this has been such a good episode. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us. We'll have to have you on again. Yeah. Maybe year 3.
Yeah.
We'll get you back on for sure because we've learned a lot through you for sure.
I'll send the AI version of me.
There you go.
Yeah. Little hologram.
See if you can tell the difference.
Yeah, maybe even your husband or something like that since he's part of the business.
Yeah. So. No, he would be fun to talk to. Like, I think you guys would enjoy. He knows all the techie stuff. He's in that world. And so.
Well, it's awesome. Cool that you have a 1-2 punch like that. It helps so much in business. So thank you again for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we'll see you guys on the next one.